What's up, guys? Still with Blacktop Tactical. Today I'm going to be mounting a scope on this Remington 700. This is actually something I've been wanting to do for a while. I finally got my hands on a Sendero with the HS Precision stock, real pretty stock. It's a 7mm mag actually, so I'm really excited about that. So let's get down to business. First, we're going to clear the rifle. Nothing in the chamber, we're clear. Okay, nothing in the mag well. Pop the bolt out. Clear, safe, ready to go. I already mounted the base on it. It's a Night Force 20 MOA. And we're going to be using a set of Weaver Grand Slam steel rings, 30mm. A lot of people either don't know about these rings or just overlook them because of the price point, but I gotta tell you, they're all steel construction. They're a great set of rings. I've used them on many rifles and never had any complaint. So I'm gonna use these on this rifle. Yeah, I probably could have went with a set of Night Force or maybe Warn or Vortex, but I really just wasn't feeling like spending $150 to $200 for a set of rings. Yeah, they're very nice rings, but honestly, I don't see much of a difference. And I like these because they're not aluminum, they're steel. I like an all-steel construction scope ring, so I went with these. And the scope we're going to be using is my choice of a Vortex. I love Vortex optics. It is a Viper PST, first generation, 6 to 24 by 50. It does have a red illuminated reticle. It adjusts in mils, and it has an adjustable parallax on the side. I have one of these on another Remington 700. It's a 4 to 16 variation. But I went with the 6 to 24, being this is a 7mm mag. We're going to shoot it a lot farther than the 308, so went with that scope. And I just wanted more magnification because we are actually going to probably shoot this in F class, but we'll see. So first things first, grab a toolkit. This is a toolkit from a company called Fix-It Sticks. I gotta tell you guys, this is a really nice kit for the money. I think they're like 125 bucks, but it comes with the torque wrench attachment, a 1/2-inch socket, a real wide blade flathead, a small one. I bought this bit separately. It's an A2 sight adjustment bit for an AR. It'll fit any normal A2 sight front sight. It has all your Torx and your hex bits, has a Phillips head, and what's really cool is the actual driver itself is magnetic on all three. And it is real nice because it has this little grip here and you can spin it. It makes it real nice. So that makes it nice. We're going to be using a T15 bit. This guy right here. What you want to do is take your ring and we're going to put it right here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just tighten this up just a hair to hold it. No, I'm sorry, I messed up. Take your rings. See how there's play there? You can move back and forth. Push it all the way forward. Always push your ring all the way forward and hold it there. So take tension off, hold it forward. Okay. And you don't want to lock it down just yet. You want to just leave it a little loose. And then we'll put the other ring up here. We're just eyeballing it right now. We got to lay the scope on there, get the eye relief. But we're gonna just get it close for right now to mock it up. So we're gonna get it on there, okay? Push it all the way forward. See how that went forward? I'm just gonna give it a little snug. Take your scope, we're gonna lay it on there. Oh, that's nice. That's real nice. So what you wanna do is, anytime you mount a scope, you want the rings to be at the widest point, as wide as you can go. But you need to leave yourself a little bit of room to get that eye relief where you want it. So I'm going to get in here. Okay, I like that. I like the eye relief. The eye relief's good for me. So I'm going to pick the scope up. We're going to come over here. I like where they're mounted. And we're going to take the screw out. Okay, we're going to take this screw out. Real carefully. Just pop it out of there. And I'll tell you why. So here's what we're going to do. This is how to mount a scope correctly. You're going to take the little claw off with the screw. You're going to come over here and grab. This is a product I really like to use. I don't like using Loctite, and I'll explain why later. This is called sleeve retainer. It's made by Permatex. It's made for holding sleeves and engine blocks. It's not cheap. This bottle was like 30 bucks, but it'll last you forever. What's nice is blue Loctite sometimes doesn't harden up. It makes a mess, it's real gooey, it's real fluid-like, and it just goes. It makes a little bit of a mess, sometimes it doesn't dry, and sometimes if it dries, it just doesn't want to come back out. It could strip the screw out. So, don't like using that, like using this, because no matter what, it always comes right out. So I like using this. This is what I use in place of Loctite. We're going to take this. There's a little bit on the cap here. I'm going to use that real quick. I'm going to put a little bit on the threads there. That's all you need, just a little tiny bit. I'm actually going to put a little bit more on it. But you take just a little tiny bit, little tiny drop. That's all you need. It's pretty thick. It stays where you want it. So you just come in here, because I have my ring where I want it. Get in here, screw that in. Very important that when you lock these down for good, you put that on there and get them where you want it. See how you can move that back and forth? You want to push that all the way forward. Give it a little snug. Come back here. Do the same thing. Here, grab this, grab your sleeve retainer, and just put a little drop on there. Just a little drop. That's all you need, just a little bit to fill them threads. Come back here, makes it a little easier. Actually, the screw's long enough that I can actually grab it with my fingers. And just thread that in a couple threads. Get you started. Come in here with your tool. Make sure that ring is all the way forward. Tighten that up. Give it a little snug. And then we're going to go back to the, where did I put it? There it is. Take your bit, put it in your torque wrench attachment, and we want to torque these to 35 inch-pounds. So you're going to come in here, and this one's pretty cool. It's not a clicker type. So you come in and you turn it until that line lines up. Right there, that's 35. I'll do one over here so you can see it. So what you want to do is get on there square. See how that's at 0? As you turn it, it begins to torque. And it measures the resistance. And you come right there, 35 inch-pound. Now your rings are torqued. Okay. Now, a lot of people will just say, okay, great, I got my rings on there. Some people don't even use a torque wrench. I highly, highly do not recommend that. Use a torque wrench, please. Invest in good tools. Don't mess up your stuff. And there's more on that in a minute. But what we're gonna do is, now that we have these torqued, we're gonna come back here, move the scope over. And this is the Wheeler Engineering scope mounting kit, the professional kit that comes with the bits and the levels and the lapping bars and the alignment bars. Comes with a torque wrench. I like the Fix-It Sticks torque wrench better, just my opinion. It's all personal preference. I've used both. I actually have 4 other torque wrenches, but I like that one the best. So what we're going to need is, we're mounting a 30mm scope. So kind of hard to get out sometimes, but I just take this guy and thread it in, pop it out. That is your lapping bar. We have our alignment bars right here. They are also 30mm. Take those out, a little bit of lapping compound, and that's all we need out of that kit for now. We're going to take the lapping compound. You just want a little bit of it. There's a little bit on your finger. Take a little bit of that, and you're going to wipe it in there. Put that on there. Lay your lapping bar in. Then we're going to take the ring caps. Now, it's very important when you're doing this that you don't mix up the caps. That's what's nice about this Tipton Ultra Vise. It has 2 trays, so you can do front and back. We're going to need a little bit more. Do the ring caps. Just need a little bit. You don't need to get too crazy with it. A little dab will do you. If you look in there, dropping the screws, you want to just get a little coating in there. You want to keep it nice and even, nothing too crazy. It's a nice coating, and you're going to drop this on there. So that'll be right here. You just want to give it a light lap. And what lapping does is, if you're familiar with, cars or engines or machining, it's almost like line boring your main journals for your crankshaft. Thank you, cameraman. Grab my screw that I dropped. Thanks, sir. It's almost like line boring your crankshaft journals, your main journals. And what it does is it removes any misaligned stress off of the scope tube. So that in itself is a great gain, because you don't want your scope tube to be stressed to one side or the other and maybe dent it or mess it up, because some of these optics, like that Vortex right there, I got that on a really good deal, and it was still pricey at that. So you want to use a good set of tools and mount a good optic on your rifle. I'm just wiping this stuff off with my fingers real quick. So you get your caps back on, and you're going to come in here and you're just going to put light pressure on. I'm not going to tighten these all the way down. We're just going to get the screws started and get them nice and even. Just nice and light. Kind of like how, if you were to mount a scope in the old days, when you would put your ring caps on with your scope, and then you would look through it and get it level, and we're talking way back, at Grandpa's deer camp. When you would leave it just a little loose so you could move the scope around and get it to where you want it. And we're going to do the same thing here, just until they touch, Okay, go over these one time, just spin until they touch. Don't want to put any stress on it, because you don't want to lap it too far. You want 80% contact. So you're going to take this and you're going to just see how quick that loosened up. So you're going to come in here, No, you do not torque these screws during this process. You do not. You just do it till they just touch, because that actually settles the ring cap, and it also shaves a tiny bit of material out. So if you tighten them, the more you're going to remove because you're taking up the space. Go over these all at once, okay? A little tighter, yeah. See, now you're gonna see how much easier that got because it's removing that material. And you want to go over it a couple times. Just tighten these up a little bit. You get about a quarter turn of snug out of them. And, you know, you want to keep them even so that you remove the material evenly. Very important. You don't want to go crazy with it. Just enough. Tighten them up a little bit there just because I wanted to get a little material out of it. But you want to work it back and forth like this. But you also want to make sure as you do this and work it back and forth, you want to make sure you're moving front to back. Back and forth. So left, right, and forward, backwards. So what that does is you're rounding out the circle, but you're also truing it. I'll just give them one more little lap. Tighten up and lap it. I don't get too crazy with lapping because you don't want to make the hole too big so that the scope doesn't have an interference fit, because you don't want it to loosen up on you, because that would be bad, and that's going to have you chasing your tail. So you want 80% contact. Wow, this is real tight. And as you go back and forth, it'll be a little tight, but it'll loosen up because it'll start to fit itself. See how it's really starting to get a lot easier? You want to go back and forth, front to back. So then you're going to come in here after you're done. It's about as far as I want to go with it, I think. I'll check the contact pattern. You want to use a good degreaser to get all of that grit out of there, all that lapping compound. I personally use brake cleaner or rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol you can get at the dollar store or Walmart or the grocery store. Brake cleaner you could get at any auto parts store, AutoZone, Napa, Advance. You could just use their house brand. Cheaper the better, because the stuff in the green and red can you don't want to use because it leaves some kind of slime behind. So just a tip there. And what you want to do is take your cap off like that. And then you're going to take your screws, dump them out like that. And all this lapping compound you want to take off. So I'm just going to use a rag real quick. Wipe that off. Be right back. Give me 1 second. Spray it off real quick with a can of brake cleaner. Get that stuff at Napa or wherever, Barrington, if you have Barrington where you're at. We're in southeastern Pennsylvania, so we have Barrington, we got Advanced Auto Parts, and if you look, See all that contact area. See how we lapped all that out? It's got a little bit of a high spot there. That's okay. That didn't contact, didn't take the finish off, but it's nice and smooth. And that's what we want. And you want to make sure that you don't flip it. You want to keep it the way it was. So we're going to put this in here like that. And we're going to come back here and we're going to do the same to the back. Flip it over, screws will fall out into your little tray. Wipe the sides off. Okay. I'm going to take this real quick, walk over to the trash can, spray it out. Just spray it out over the trash can. Nothing too crazy. It's alcohol based. It'll fall out. So what's nice is, so now that we've done these rings, if you look in here, it's got the same little contact area as that one. So these rings are nice and true to each other now. Then you're going to come in here, take your lapping bar, you're just going to wipe it off. Nothing too crazy. Okay. You're going to come back in here and you're going to take this rag and you're going to wipe it all off. You get a lot of seepage out. It happens. It's normal. Nothing to worry about. You didn't put too much on. You don't have to worry, oh no, did I do it wrong? No, that's normal. So all you gotta do is get in here and just wipe it all out. That's all you gotta do. Get in here, wipe that out. Brake cleaner. As you can see, wipe it down with a little brake cleaner, get all that out of there, get all that grit out, because you don't want that chewing up your scope or nothing. Make sure you get it nice and clean. I'll actually come in here, I'll put a little more on it. Make sure you get it nice and clean. And now you have yourself a set of very nice matched rings. They're nice and true to each other. Take your finger, make sure there's no grit in there. Get everything off. Okay, nice and clean. Okay. I know I'm just overly double check. And you take your alignment bars and your alignment is nice and tight and straight. If you can see that in there, it's kind of hard to see, but they're straight. They're nice and straight to each other, so that's what you want. You don't want any misalignment because that puts stress on your scope tube. So now that we have that where we want it, we're going to take our scope. Oh, I forgot to mention, really cool tool. This is also from that company Fix It Sticks. This is called the Scope Jack. Now, I'm sure some of you have had problems where you mount your scope and you're like, man, it's just not level, or it's just so hard using 3-4 different levels, and then you don't even know if the level is accurate. So what you're gonna do is take your scope. This guy bolts right down, well, clamps rather, to your rail, your scope base, your rail, whatever you want to call it. And then see this guy, this little roller? On every scope, you have this flat here. See that flat? You're going to come in here, You're gonna lay your scope in there where you want it. Okay. I'm gonna come in here, get my eye relief where I like it. Okay. All right. You're gonna take your ring caps. You're gonna place them on there like that. They're nice and perfect fit. Take the screws, and you're gonna take your driver. Little dabble do, little drop. That's all you need. Just one drop like that, and let it go right on down the threads. I let it kind of soak like that. See how it's nice and thick? It doesn't go all over the place. It stays put. And then you just grab this and you get started. You do the same for all 8 of your screws. The screws don't have to go in any order. Just start them. Don't go and torque them right off the bat, because you need to make sure that your ring cap is even on both sides. So you want to get them started, get it kind of settled, wiggle it a little bit, get it centered up, and bring your screws in so that all 4 hold that cap level and straight. So you want to grab your cap. I pull up on it and I just pull down on it with the screw and get it straight. Just bring them down until they stop. Okay. You're gonna come over here and do the same thing. You're gonna take that screw. We're gonna put just a little dab on there. Put all 4 of them in there, and it's very important, again, use a torque wrench, because a couple things can happen if you don't. You can have uneven torque on the screws, you can have too much torque on the screws, and you can dent the scope tube. That's a no-no, especially on expensive optics like this. You know, a Vortex Viper PST 6-24 that I have on here, they go for close to $1,000. I think somewhere around 700 bucks. And you know, it's a good optic, it's great, but you don't want to use something, you know, you don't want to go and mess something up that's expensive like that. So just evenly bring them screws in. Just evenly bring them in. Just until they touch. Just until they touch. Okay. And come back, grab your torque wrench. Vortex recommends 18 inch-pounds on your ring cap. Some go 15. I like to go 20. I like 20. It's 2 inch-pounds. It's not going to make a difference. So what I do, and this is just personal preference, so what you want to do is you can still move. No, they're a little too tight. So just back them off a hair, and then you want the scope to still be movable. Okay, like that. Maybe not quite that loose, but you come in here and you take your other driver, and this is really cool. See how that scope is real crooked? Watch this. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Look at that. No more sitting with a level. Look. Dead straight. Come in here. Give your rings just a little snug while you hold that scope jack. I like to torque them in a cross pattern. Now I'm just tightening them down until they touch, just so it holds the scope tube. And You know, this is just how I do it. Everybody has their own method, but you really should do them in a cross pattern to keep the torque even, like an axe. If you had a 6-bolt scope, you would, you know, do the center, and then go outside, 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 outside. But while you hold it, I like to torque the front ring first, because same thing with that MOA, like I was saying with the base, it's a 20 MOA base, so it's lower in the front. So I like to torque the front ring first. We're gonna come in, just give it a little snug, a little snug, a little snug. We're not even torquing it yet, we're just giving it a little snug. They're torqued to about 5 inch-pounds right now. So we're gonna start with this one, a little snug, we'll stop at 15. A little snug, stop at 15. Come back over, we'll go right there at that in between the 15 and 25. That'll give us 20. Right there to 20. Right there to 20. And what's really cool about this scope jack is you can hold tension on it while you torque the screws, so that when you torque one side, it doesn't try and pull the scope tube left or right and mess up your level. So that's really nice. So it's a great tool. I think it was 40 bucks. It's an add-on from Fix-It Sticks. I would highly 10 out of 10 recommend it if you're going to be trying to do things the quick and easy way, especially if you got a one-piece base rifle. Now, you do need a little bit of clearance, so it's not going to work on everything, especially something that's got real low clearance, or if you have a rifle with a 2-piece base, it's not going to work, obviously, because there's nothing covering there, so you can't really put it on there. But we'll come in here, 20 inch-pound, 20 inch-pound, right there at that halfway mark. Halfway mark. Okay, so now that we have everything torqued the way we want, we're just going to come in and give it one more just quick torque, because after it settles in, you want to just make sure that it doesn't need that extra little snug, because you do have that sleeve retainer on the thread, so that is going to loosen it up a little bit and make it kind of slide in them threads. So you get a little bit out of each one. So it's good to torque them a couple times, make sure everything's straight, because you want to, before it dries, you want to make sure it's nice and tight. And there you go. Now your scope's mounted. You can throw your scope caps on if you have them. They didn't come in yet, but we got it ready to go. Now you just take this little guy and loosen it up. There you go. That's how you mount a scope the right way.